welcome to Marianne Erasmus, who is the Google News Partner Lead in Sub-Saharan Africa. Good to see you again, Marianne.
Lovely to see you, Lee, and thanks for having me.
Thank you. Colleagues, so today's session is in line with the undertaking that we made when we first announced the 140 million Rand DNT fund a few months ago. We said that there'll be as many consultations as possible, and we said that we will be transparent. So in order to ensure that though we have enough time for to ask questions, I would now like to hand over to Marianne, just for her to share her thoughts or vision on what she would like the DNT fund to achieve, or what do they envisage as Google. Thank you. Over to you, Marianne.
Thank you, Slee. So now, bear with me. I'm going to press the share button. Let's see if I can find my slides. Tell me if you can see it.
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Oh, I can't see what you're seeing. Must I put it in slideshow? Is it in slideshow? No. Is it in slideshow now?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Digital News Transformation Fund, South Africa.
All right.
Yes,
so I 100% can't see what you're seeing. So I'm going to just drive this a little bit blind. Good. Right. So I thought what could be helpful for us this morning is just to also take a moment to for me to give you a little bit of insight as to how Google thinks about our industry partnerships, specifically news industry partnerships, and what are kind of like the three. Sorry, could you not hear me?
I'm not sure whether it was my network, but you were frozen a bit, I think, in your introduction, but I don't know if colleagues were hearing.
I was hearing Marianne, so Slee,
okay,
from
so
my
then
side,
it's
it was
probably
fine.
on my end. All right.
Okay.
Sorry, Marianne, please proceed. Thanks.
Okay, let's attempt it again. So as I mentioned, I thought it could be helpful just to give some insight for you to see what are the things that we think about from a Google perspective when we enter into industry partnerships. And as I'm sure you're aware, Google holds a number of industry partnerships where we also fund extensive research around the news industry, news trends, news communities, to really get a sense and keep our finger on the tabs of what is happening in terms of consumer behavior, news consumption, what are the elements that inform sustainability, and what is the role that technology can play. One of the industry research papers that we fund annually, and I'm sure you're familiar with it, is the Reuters Institute digital news report, which always gives us such clear insight into where audiences are going, what's happening with platforms, and how that is changing news consumption. So I'm going to just touch for the purpose of today, because we don't have that much time, but just on these first two elements, speaking to news consumption and how we are seeing behaviors and preferences evolving, and what implications that holds for news publishers in terms of a news value proposition, and then briefly just touch on the drivers of sustainability. So really, what does that look like across regions and publisher types? And are we seeing emerging models of success? And then those models of success, what are the factors that they have in common as they move towards a resilient business model? The role of technology, I'm not going to touch on now, but we can address that in question time. So bear with me. I'm going to show you a couple of research slides, and that's kind of going to lead into how we're thinking about this digital news transformation fund for South Africa. So if we look at this emerging news consumption behaviors and preferences around the question about what is the challenge that pose for news publishers in terms of differentiating their news value proposition, I want you to think about your own behavior, your own consumption behavior. I see in my world, and I certainly see with my two teenage children, that we're almost in a world of digital simultasking. I consume and simultaneously consume a variety of information, mostly on my phone, less so on my laptop. Laptop typically, I suppose, is more for work. I very seldom watch linear TV. I watch TV on demand as and when I want to see it. When I research something, my research is multimodal. It's often video-based and audio-based and internet-driven. I consume news as the news either comes to me or where I can very easily find the news typically on my mobile phone. So again, think about your own behavior and how you see your kids are behaving when we sort of like go through these slides. But we're definitely seeing that there's a change in how modern consumers, especially the youth, is consuming news. I touched on this now. We see in the Reuters Institute report that TV and print have declined, but digital still stays persistently high. What is interesting is that across digital, social media has now surpassed direct and search as the main way for consumers to access their news. So this sort of speaks to that trend that the consumer isn't necessarily going to the news anymore, but the news needs to be made available in a space where the consumer can meet the news in the moment where they are at. And the consumers, specifically the youth, is increasingly more grazing on social media platforms. We see that younger consumers is much more likely to discover news through social media versus older consumers. You can see here on the left is over 35s. Look at that incredible spike of like younger users, and their behavior is also increasingly multimodal. You know, it's audio, it's video, it's podcast, it's written news, it's social sharing, it's influencers. And we also see this trend that younger consumers are much less likely to go to the news directly. That seems to be something that, you know, older consumers would still seek out, but the youth certainly not. So then if we wonder about what it is that consumers want from news, we see in the Reuters report that the trend of selective news avoidance continued to grow, especially among younger consumers. I mean, this is an incredibly high stat to say that 39%, up from 29%, say that they often avoid the news these days. So again, the challenge then there for news publishers are what are the kind of experiences and topics and stories that you can package that will appeal to this youth audience. And certainly we do see these emerging trends of positive, solution-driven, explanatory journalism, service journalism, that seems to still win. And then very interestingly here, if we look at this slide, in South Africa, local news interest remains strong. So all of the countries above the line, France, Canada, South Africa, Hong Kong, Slovakia, trends show that there's a real interest in communities in understanding what goes on in their communities, where it's a lot more homogenous if you look at the UK or you look at the Scandinavian countries or the US. Then we also wonder about what are the formats that consumers prefer to receive their news in. And we're seeing here that consumers, especially the youth, I mentioned that before, is turning to video platforms for news. If you look at this exponential growth of TikTok from 2020 to 2024, that's remarkable. And I mean, that penetrates direct into that youth audience. So again, I believe that there's huge opportunity for publishers to leverage these trends as they rethink about content consumption and packaging their content. This again speaks to the news video trend, and I wanted to highlight here because South Africa is listed as one of the highest consumption countries as it pertains to video consumption of news specifically. And look how high that stat is around short form video. So again, it's very exciting because it does open opportunities for publishers to rethink how they reach an audience, what format they reach an audience by leveraging these kind of like sharing platforms that are available. Again, interestingly, looking at the global south, that and this speaks to this overall video trend, but the penetration in South Africa for consumers looking for news via YouTube is very, very high. If you look at Nigeria, Kenya, South Africa, comparatively to, say, the UK or the US. So the global south penetration on video seems to be a persistent trend. Then we start thinking about who consumers are turning to for the news. And again, I mean, this is an undeniable trend, is that older consumers are still looking to mainstream news, but increasingly younger consumers are looking at personalities and influencers. So again, what an amazing opportunity here to kind of position your journalists, or the people behind the stories, elevate them in terms of their humanity, their accessibility to readers, because this clearly is the trend of what the youth is looking for. On a second topic, then you would have seen in those first three buckets, one of the areas we do a lot of work in is around understanding the sustainability of emerging models of success. And we've got so much work about this. I couldn't even work out which slides to choose for this morning because we have loads, and I'm very happy to share it with you. But I just wanted to kind of pull out a couple of them. We do a lot of work with our partners at the FT Strategies around publisher sustainability, and we've built with the FT Strategies this publisher sustainability framework to really kind of evaluate what are the performance capabilities and activities needed for publishers in digital transformation towards sustainability readiness. And the three kind of like key buckets, and I'm sure this is no surprise to you. You work in this industry, you're very aware of this. So I think it's just a case of summarizing, but sits within these pillars of product and audience. So how do you differentiate your digital product in order to facilitate audience engagement? Audience engagement, we know, will then drive towards monetization, and then thinking about what are the different monetization routes beyond just typical advertising, but membership models, contributions, subscriptions, micropayments. Is there a way to do a data exchange? Is there an eventing? Is there a way that you can kind of build a club of your readers that in a secondary way is monetizable? And then, of course, really getting the foundations right. So what is your long-term strategy and planning with your brand operations and cost management? What is the culture, the human capital? And then, of course, we know that data and technology is increasingly more important because this facilitates really everything. And these levers then, in this research, we have a sustainability or financial performance index that we can look at. So I wanted to call out just really two slides here. What we see globally across the 800 publishers that we worked with on the sustainability readiness is the fact that building direct relationships is crucial. I want to correlate this to the slide that we showed where youth readers are going to social media. So again, is there a world where you can pivot that to make sure that a reader still comes to you to seek you out, and you build that direct relationship that will then manifest in, first-party data opportunities, building trust, newsletter subscriptions, taking a reader down. Oh, sorry, was there a question? No.
No, Marianne, I think it was just someone who probably had forgotten to mute. Thanks.
I'm getting to the end here. Sorry if this is this is taking very long. I thought it just gives very crucial context. And then we also see one of the other crucial elements for resilience and sustainability is diversification of primary revenue sources. So it seems like almost 4 revenue sources is what you need to build a resilient model. So again, huge opportunity here to be really creative, to think like what can the technology aid and help you with in order to build out your business. So here's just a little bit of a summary of how can publishers respond to these trends that we see, and it's absolutely building direct relationship, newsletters, first-party data. I'm very happy to share these slides with you because I know they're quite text heavy. This idea of humanizing your reporters, influencers don't just have to be youngsters. You can humanize your own reporters to become almost like an influencer, a credible influencer of news storytelling. The idea of providing more explanatory solutions-orientated journalism to combat that trend of news avoidance, experimenting with multimodal strategies, so video presence across short form, long form, a live stream to drive traffic back to your owned and operated websites, experimenting with AI, which is just, it's such a profound inflection point that we find ourselves. And, this technology is freely available for publishers to harness, to really experiment with how can you personalize your content, and how can you implement a kind of like liquid journalism, which is the task of taking what's an original written story and using AI to populate that story into different formats, a video, a social media post, a LinkedIn post, a summary, a newsletter. Is there a way that you can customize your language, your article length, your tone to kind of like speak more to a youth audience? How do you experiment with multimodal formats? How can you investigate diversifying revenue streams? upskilling, product and business skill sets, and then really, sort of like getting a tech stack that can deliver or be best place for digital monetization, and then the consumer revenue. So this was quite a lot, but I wanted to touch on that as we preference into the Digital News Transformation Fund. So in working with Kate and the colleagues at AIP across, I think it's the past 2 years, to be very deliberate about how do we build a funding structure that can aid digital transformation of a sector at scale to help community and independent publishers, which we know in South Africa is still very important, and which we know that news, it weaves this tapestry of communities together, and the South African audience is still very interested in local news. How do we help these publishers to adapt and evolve towards a durable and resilient business model? And I'm very proud of the work that we've done together to develop the bones and the structure of this fund, which really relies on the fact that we are now putting South Africa's community and independent news publishers in a position where they can, with guidance, identify a clear commercial or technological or platform or audience goal as it pertains to your publishing industry or your publishing product, that you can then aspire to achieve with the DNT funding support to respond to this fast-changing consumer landscape, to drive towards a world where your business becomes resilient and durable. And from a Google perspective, we're certainly very excited to be supporting this digital transformation of the South African industry over the next 3 years. And we really hope that at the end of this period, that we can have very clear kind of like lighthouse project examples of publishers who have risen to this opportunity to say, we're going to immerse ourselves into understanding the trends. We're going to rise to the challenge to understand what it is that we need to do to adapt digitally. We're going to grab this opportunity head on. We're going to implement it. And at the end of the 3 years, we're going to have these phenomenal success stories that I hope we will be able to share on a global stage to show what we are doing in South Africa that can potentially serve as inspiration for our fellow global South countries. So I think with that, I'm going to pause, and I'm very happy to then take some questions, or Slee, if I didn't touch on anything you wanted me to touch on, please guide me what you still want me to answer.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Marianne, for that concise yet comprehensive presentation. I really think that you did cover quite a lot, and I'm glad that you said you will share the presentation, because I think there are really interesting slides there that can give us some guidance, but also just useful. And everything what you are saying, especially what came out of the Reuters study this year, reinforcing what we are seeing with reader patterns, as well as, for example, around video. In fact, just before we got on a call, one of our colleagues shared what they've been doing on social media, a particular story that has actually generated 1 million views. And we were all just talking about it and excited, about that work. So we certainly, the study that you refer to, what it is showing, it is something that we are also seeing as publishers. And I think it was a second, if not a third last slide, where you were talking about a financial sustainability framework. I think that's what it was titled.
Yes.
And just looking at the excitement that we've seen around this fund since the announcement, and typically with, big announcements, as time proceeds, you will then find sometimes there'll be misconceptions, myths, I don't know, I guess we could even say disinformation in this case. And one of the misconceptions rather that we have picked up consistently has been around how the process, what process will be followed. And I think that with that slide emphasizing the financial sustainability framework, really, colleagues, we could use that as a slide to emphasize the point that there are no guarantees for anyone on this call that people their applications will be successful. That's one. But I think the second thing is to say that Google's role is to be a funder, and Google doesn't get involved in who gets selected. Neither does AIP, in fact, or the AIP board. But certainly, considering that it is a fund and that there will be several applications, one of the things that we will, all of us who intend applying, we will have to demonstrate is the sustainability of how we intend using that and how we believe that however much we will be applying for will assist our businesses to be sustainable. And I think at this point, before we open it up for questions, I want to bring in either Kate or Anita to just also emphasize this point around the importance of being able to demonstrate how, if your application is successful, how it will assist your business to be sustainable. For just a few minutes, I'm not sure whether it will be Kate or Anita.
Can I quickly comment on that before we hand to Kate?
Yes,
Thank you, Slee. And I think you hit the nail on the head. We need to be very clear that this is not grant funding. This is a digital transformation fund that is being made available from Google to assist publishers in a very real journey to adopt and adapt their business models. So you're absolutely right. It's not grants that are being issued. It's really giving publishers the opportunity to rise to the moment, to say, on a merit-based application, these are the things that I want to do to elevate my brand into what I believe will be future success, resilience, durability, expansion. And we give the publishers carte blanche and freedom to define the goal that they want to achieve, but there absolutely has to be a kind of a project plan behind this. And then I think what I'm also excited about, just in closing, is we made provision in the structure of this fund for groups of publishers to kind of like work together as a multi-stakeholder applicant that can apply for multi-year funding to kind of facilitate these slightly bigger projects. So instead of you feeling you have to go to completely by yourself, see if there's a world in which a couple of you can come up with, you know, an idea that we can fund for the cohort towards the kind of like scaled digital transformation approach.
Thank you, Marianne. Kate, do you want to quickly come in so that we can then open it up for questions? Thank you.
Absolutely, and I'd love, like Aneta or Bali, who obviously are on the DNT fund board, and Aneta is obviously the co-chair of the fund, to please add. But yeah, I mean, I have to say, I think Slee, you and Marianne have actually said pretty much all of it, so there's not too much more to say. But maybe just to emphasize the fact that, yeah, I think what we need to do is look at, like, how do we do things differently? The new frame that we need to look at our work at, because I think that, you know, we have achieved a lot. I mean, that's not to say that we haven't, but I think, you know, on this digital journey, there are some very new ways of looking at things, new ways of you know, finding revenue, you know, some very interesting things in terms of audience analysis and audience engagement. So I think that what we're wanting to do is to kind of dig deep, look at what we're doing, look at what we're doing well, look at what we need to do differently, and particularly look at the kind of digital issues, like this digital journey that we want to step on. I mean, some of us, of course, are already on that digital journey, but how do we take it to the next level? And I think that is what is exciting, you know, about this fund. And then just one other thing to emphasize, and I think again what Marianne was saying, you're not alone. You know, there will be, you know, quite a lot of you know, possibilities of joining with others. Cohorts, I think, is a great idea. Small cohorts, provincial cohorts. Also looking at kind of industry level projects. I think all of that is part of it. And just this idea that you know, we as AIP will, you know, look at ways to you know, give you inputs, thoughts, and obviously a lot of input around, the exact process that people will need to follow. And obviously the fund, Leanne Kunz from Shikalulu, will do a lot of work around, being very clear about what that process looks like. So thanks, Lee. I hope that helps. And obviously Aneta and Nambali, please add.
Thank you, Kate. It certainly does. I'm not sure who between Marianne and Aneta will come in just for a few minutes, and then we open it up to questions for colleagues. Thank you.
Good morning, colleagues. Thank you, Cicely. Can I go ahead?
Yes, please. We can hear you, sis. Please.
Okay. Marianne, thank you once again for the presentation. Thank you. We appreciate. From my side, I would just say I love the idea of the cohorts, because the digital space can be so overwhelming. So and there's still so much that we need to learn from this space. It's a new business model. We're going to have different business models that we are bringing into our business, which is a different ball game from what we are used to. We are used to print. We are so comfortable in our print space, and now we are moving and transitioning into this new space. Yes, we have these platforms, we have websites, we have Facebooks, but we haven't really explored how we can really make these platforms, how can I say, accessible to the markets that we are targeting. And if the platforms that we are using, are we really utilizing them to the hilt that they can be as effective as we want them to be for the markets and the targets that we are servicing? So there's a lot that we're still gonna learn and that we need to learn, and we hope that through the funding we can also access training and all that, so that we can be empowered and so that we can better service the markets that we target. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sis Aneta. There is I think, a very useful link that Marianne has shared on the chat, colleagues. You may just copy it and read it in your own time. We now open it up for questions, colleagues. Please, I don't know, raise your hand and then we'll give you the platform. Thank you. Please go ahead, Uncle Mahmoud. Thank you.
Sorry, I was just trying to get my mic to work properly. Yes, thank you, Slee, Marianne, Kate, for arranging this remarkable presentation. I think it's quite useful as a preparation for the application to the DNT fund. I think my question somehow relates to what Aneta was saying earlier, and it's a point I've been making previously as well. AIP consists of diverse publications from diverse political, cultural, social backgrounds. I was in a press council meeting just over a month ago, and the chair of the appeals panel was asking, when a question was raised about how AIP should be contributing towards the sustainability of the press council in terms of membership fees. So the chair of the appeals panel asked the question, how diverse is AIP? I mean, does it truly represent the industry of local independent publishers? And the answer was simple, that we are very, very diverse. And I think that impressed them, because if you are talking about a representative organization of local publishers who are struggling with sustainability, then the merit for allowing them to operate and to making membership to the Press Council accessible to them at low cost instead of no cost, then the one merit would be that they are very, very diverse. So that's a point I want to focus on. As very diverse publications, we don't have a silver bullet for the solution to sustainability for all of us. I think there are very, very unique profiles for each publisher. There are certain things certainly that are in common, and sorry, I'm just getting a feed from someone else. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
So what I'm saying is that we need a model in which we are able to engage with the DNT fund on a one-on-one basis. I wanted to ask Marianne if that is possible, that there's one-on-one consultation in order for us to help to achieve sustainability and to look at ways in which we can apply for support from the fund.
Thank you, Mahmoud, for the question, and very lovely to meet you. I just wanted to confirm again that Google's capacity is the funder of this fund. So for transparency reasons, we are not operationally involved in the management of the fund at all. Having said that, we did confirm and kind of pledged our support with Leanne and Chikululu, who are the fund administrators, that Google will be, out of our own additional funding, not part of your fund, make available training that we can on a quarterly basis. So, and my understanding from Leanne and the Chikululu team is that they are developing a very robust training schedule to assist publishers exactly with this, what you were saying. You know, you do need to kind of understand what are the digital bones, what are the foundations that can serve as a bit of inspiration as well to the ideas that you can then develop to apply for. So I think it's a twofold answer. I know that the fund itself will facilitate a huge amount of training, and then a pledge from Google's side is that we have offered to do ancillary training. Typically, our training is mostly skewed around the products that we make available freely to publishers. But if that is interesting for anybody, we'll be making that available in person and virtually, but you'll get guidance from the Chikululu team and Leanne.
Thanks, Marianne. Before we go to so Kate, would you like to add something?
Yeah, thank you, Cicely. So I think, yeah, I mean, it's a good question, Mahmoud. There will definitely be basically an email that people can, basically put forward questions to. So if there's something that you're particularly struggling with, and you want to ask some questions about, you will be able to send that question and get an answer. So everything that Marianne has said in terms of all that training being made available, I think it's wonderful. There's a lot of work happening. It's great that Google is supporting that also with extra training over and above what is already in the fund. So all of that will be available, but also that one-on-one questions as well. Thanks.
Thanks, Kate. Mrs. Please go ahead. Hi, Mrs. Are you still on the line?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Please go ahead. Thanks.
I think for me, the biggest one is to ask, because like myself, I'm in the digital space using a lot of social media formats to try and digitize news. And I always try to keep to the ethical way of presenting news content to the public. And it's a really huge one, because most of the time people are chasing numbers, and information needs to be there in the most transparent and with the best integrity at best. How is the fund maybe going to help someone like myself who's trying to grow a platform that is trying to build content where people will be well informed with the facts and not try, I have sort of a beef with influencers, not try chase numbers, but actually try to ensure that the information that is out there is credible and is built. Currently, I'm on 2 platforms, mainly because I could not maintain the website. So I'm just on Facebook and TikTok. So I guess I hope I made sense of that. Thank you.
And CBC, I couldn't quite hear your question. You're breaking up a little bit, but I do think I got the gist of it. Was it asking about how the fund will make sure that it funds credible information? Is that the gist of it?
Yes. Well, what I'm basically saying is that the session platforms that are out there, we're not trying to be chasing trends, but trying to ensure that if a news story breaks, we try and compensate that information so that people get the facts and not
Yes.
what do they call the source. Yeah.
Okay, so I think again I can speak to the structure of the fund and how we deliberately designed the fund to actually allow for a huge amount of freedom within specific guardrails. So this I think speaks to Mahmoud points earlier. This cohort is such a diverse cohort of publishers publishing such a diverse body of content. So it would have been amiss of us to give guidelines that are too strict. So really the premise of this fund is that we encourage the eligible publishers to read as wide and far as you can, to understand the research studies, to attend the trainings that will be made available, to inform a project that you believe will pertain to the sustainability of your publishing product. Within the fund, there are specific funding bands that you can apply for, given the digital complexity of your project. But the fund is not going to be prescriptive as to what the projects are. Really, the sky is the limit. If you want to come up with a plan and you can back it up in a merit-based application, that's really what we want to see. So I don't know if it exactly answers your question, but the fund is not going to be prescriptive as to what it is that they will fund. And you need to bring the proposal of what it is that you want to do with your product to the fund.
Thanks, Marianne. Ananias?
Yeah, thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm not sure who will answer this, Marianne or AIP board, but my question is, we know it is a fund, and we know not everyone will qualify and will get it. So I just want to check what happens to those who didn't make it to that fund, to get the fund, who won't get it. Do we have any remedies, or will they be left behind as other publishers move forward with this funding? Or do we have any other methods or forms that will just help them to, maybe if they didn't get it this time, to help and assist them to get it next time?
I can also help answer here, but certainly the intention of this fund is not to have anybody that doesn't get funding. The premise again is that we will require the publishers to put forward a project plan. If the initial project plan, and again, Google is not involved in the decision making, but if the initial project plan is not strong enough, there will be digital experts within the fund structure that can then work with you to strengthen your plan into something that is merit-based, that will qualify for funding. So certainly, to my mind, this is not a case of only a certain cohort moves forward and the other cohort do not. We're encouraging everybody to really think deeply about what it is that you need to do within your space, and with that kind of like North Star framework. Where do you want your product to be in 3 years' time? And if you can envision that, work it back to the bones of what you need to do, one foot in front of the other foot over the next 3 years. Put that in a plan and bring that to the fund.
Thanks, Marianne. Kate, please go ahead.
So thank you. I mean, I think that's an absolutely excellent question, and I think that's we need to face that head on. And so my sense is that not everybody will necessarily be funded. I mean, I think we need to be absolutely clear about that up front. You need to put together a proposal, which is a proposal that looks to the future, that is very thoughtful, reflective, includes a plan, so those are the ones that will be funded. I mean, I think a number of people will absolutely be funded, so there will be a large cohort of people that will be funded. But one of the things that I can say that will be available for absolutely everybody will be training. And I think that is a critical thing, because what it means is that everybody will have access to what that digital journey could look like, what the different options are, and giving people, every single publisher that takes the time to participate in that online training, they will get all the different ideas as to how to take things forward. So I think that it's to also say that obviously publishers need to make the effort to see that and see what's interesting and what's possible. So at the very least, that training will be available. But also I want to say that obviously while the fund exists, there are other funders. There's still the MDDA. There's still a whole lot of other funders out there. And so what we're hoping is that people will be inspired to look at a whole lot of different, funding options, including obviously this fund. So I don't know, Slee, I hope that answers the question. Thanks.
Thank you, Kate. I think it does. And perhaps while you're still on the line, Kate, maybe we could, from AIP point of view, or even either you or any of the fund board members, maybe give colleagues some updates regarding timelines.
Thanks, Lee. Let me go ahead and obviously Bali and Aneta, please jump in. What we've been told from the Shikalulu side is that they are going to be putting out the exact timelines within the next week or so, and basically saying this is when applications will be open, and also a bit more of a sense of like, so once applications are open, what does that actually mean? Are the applications going to be open for a month or 2 months, or how long? Who basically is on the board, who's on the application committee, because there's an application committee, an adjudication panel, who's on that adjudication panel, who's, all those kinds of details. So Shikalulu has got a PR company in place, and that PR company is going to make sure that the website, which we've got, which is a very basic website, is completely redone with all of that information in place. And I think the issue around the actual timeline and how that timeline works will be released. My understanding is definitely that within the next 2 weeks we will have that, and we as AIP will keep people updated from our side as well. Yeah, thank you. I hope that answers the question.
It does. I don't know if Anita or Sesimbali want to add anything before we address what has been raised on the chat.
No, Cicely, we are good. Kate has covered it all.
Okay, thank you. So then, I think I'm on mute now. There's a question on the chat asking, how do you ensure compliance with relevant regulations and laws, such as tax and access for platforms that are struggling financially and can't even afford data to join such meetings? What are the timelines for implementing? So I think the second part of the question has been answered regarding the timelines. And the first part, I'm not sure who will take it, whether it will be you, Kate, or one of the fund board members. But I think I do want to say that Kate has mentioned, for example, the MDDA. And when we look at the mandate of the MDDA, specifically that it funds really your grassroots. But even though that is their mandate as the MDDA and even as the government, they still expect that in order for them to consider your application, you need to have things such as a tax clearance certificate. You need to have things such as a BEE certificate. I don't think that it would be fair to expect that this particular fund should deviate from those compliance expectations, because even when we do work with government, for example, whatever the mandate may be, or any entity, they still ask for these things, whether it's the public or the private sector. But I'll then hand over to Kate.
Yeah, absolutely, Slee. I mean, I think it is essential for people to have certain basic compliance, certificates, as you're saying, SAR certificates, etc., in place. Yeah, I mean, I think it is important that for people to show that you are a serious publisher, that you have taken certain basic steps and made sure that those documents are in place. Those exactly what is required. Will be included in all of those documents that will be made available on the updated DNT digital news transformation website. I think that they're going to be quite careful that they're not overly onerous, but there will certainly be basic documents that are required. And I mean, I think Cicely is 100% right. I mean, even with MDDA funding or any kind of funding, there will be certain basic documents that are required. But we will certainly know what those documents are. Everyone will be made aware of that, through basically the website will have all of that information. Thanks. I just saw Valen's hand up.
Thanks, V. Please go ahead. Sorry, I'm having network issues. Please go ahead, V. Thanks.
Okay, no problem. I was actually about to raise that, but yeah, thank you very much. And then thank you to Marianne. I think as like a guiding star, or let me just say the North Star, I just wanted to ask Marianne, just how does Google define success for this fund beyond financial disbursement, and what mechanisms will be used to track and measure like the long-term impact of the fund in the community media landscape?
Thank you, Valen. Nice to meet you, and such a very good question. Google's mission as it pertains to this fund, and I think it touches on some of the slides, is we are invested in the digital transformation of this sector. So we believe that this fund will be able to make a meaningful impact for publishers to adapt and evolve their products. And ideally, at the end of the 3 years, we will be able to look at the cohort of applicants that have received funding and get a kind of a metric from what was the business model where they started and how have they evolved. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, the fund is not prescriptive, so everybody will have a slightly different goal. That goal doesn't have to be a commercial goal. It can be a technological goal. It can be an audience adoption goal. It can be a platform goal. But we would want to see at the end of 3 years to say, here's the cohort that got funded, this was the journey, and here is the story that everybody can tell now at the end of 3 years that can show a meaningful impact on the goal that they set themselves.
Thank you, Marianne. And I think I'll ask a question. Will there, I think, the question that has been asked around compliance, and the point that we've been emphasizing about proposals. Will there be some assistance, Kate or Anita, around maybe assisting people when putting together proposals, or some guideline or anything over and above the criteria that will be stipulated, just so that, because I remember one of the things we have always also said is that, we will try and keep the process as simple as possible so that it is not, a cumbersome process.
Yeah, again, I mean that's a very good question, Slee. So yes, so I think what is going to also happen, so there will be these trainings that will kind of be kickstart the fund, and part of those trainings will look at like how do you go about filling in those forms? What kind of things do you require? And I think, I mean, it's an interesting one. It's something we should actually, I'm thinking Aneta and Mbali, we should probably raise this with the fund. That if there's some tricky difficulties with compliance, that even that is covered in some of the training. Just some pointers as to like how to sort out compliance issues. Because I think we still got a little bit of time to just think through like some of the things that we want that training to cover. But yeah. I mean, there will be support around that. You're not going to be left in the dark. And if there's something that you are particularly concerned about, please do get hold of myself or Valent. And of course, you obviously have the option, and please do go directly to the fund, go to Leanne Kunz, and we'll make sure that you have her details, so that you can also ask the questions directly to the fund. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Can I quickly add something here?
Oh, sure.
Embrace AI. Like I find using Gemini, obviously I use Gemini because I'm with Google, but if you use ChatGPT, it is a phenomenal resource. So if you can kind of, with the research that you've done, just tell ChatGPT or tell Gemini to say, this is who I am, this is the publication that I have, this is the plan that I want to put forward, help me to draft this into a proposal. You'll be amazed how Gemini is really your assistant, or Chat is your assistant, with just kind of like formulating your work into something that you can use as an application.
Yes, thank you, Marianne. Sisimbali?
Yes, thank you very much. Thanks, Lee, and thank you, Marianne, for the presentation. I think it's been an eye-opener for most of us who are scared, in inverted commas, because of this territory that you are going into. It's something very new for us, but as the old guards in the sector, so we really appreciate all the coaching, all the information that you are receiving from everybody. And I just want to encourage colleagues on this platform and beyond the platform to say we need to take advantage of this opportunity. It's for us as the sector primarily. Yes, others may apply, but primarily our sector needs to benefit out of this, because we are lagging behind, some of us, when it comes to digital know-how and digital access. Not because it's mostly the reluctance to do it. I'll speak for myself when I say that, but I'm willing to take on the challenge. So I think we should just be willing to jump the gun and take this opportunity and attend whatever meetings are set up, because those meetings will guide us on how to eventually get to a stage where we can apply for access to the funding. So all the best to everybody. Let's hope the benefit will be reaped by the sector as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you, Sisimbali. I want to take Uncle Mahmoud, and then I will come to V.
Thank you, Slee. Yes, Marianne, I think the point you're making about embracing AI is a very important one. We've been using AI now since, I think, January of 2024, because that's, I think, when ChatGPT officially was launched. And it's been an amazing journey in assisting us with editorial production. Now, the one thing that I've learned about the use of AI is a skill that one needs to develop, and that is in the writing of the prompts. So prompt writing skills is actually very, very important when it comes to embracing AI with a view to addressing key editorial assignments and tasks. But as you know, Marianne, AI can be deployed on multiple tasks, and not just in editorial. So I'm hoping, based on the endorsement that you gave for AI, that the training that is going to be offered by the DNT Fund will include AI prompt writing assignments and skills development.
Natasha, want to add anything?
Such a valid point, and obviously I can't speak to the training that Leanne and Chikalulu will implement, but certainly the module that we will be hosting on AI is exactly around that: how to use Gemini for news, how to use Notebook LM for news, both investigative journalism, editorial efficiencies, commercial efficiencies. What I'll do is I'll make sure that the AI module will be the first one that we'll do.
Thanks, Marianne.
Thank you for that.
Thank you very much, Lee. Thank you very much, Marianne. And yeah, I think that I just have two things. This one, because for me, it was an impact kind of thing what I was reading. But then the first one, it actually goes to the board. I was conflicted, Lee, just in terms of asking Google or the board, because I'm part of AIP, but I'm just going to ask the board based on the question that you asked. So I think this is about the learning from failures and everything, right? The thing that we discussed before. So will there be a plan to publish like impact reports, funding outcomes and learning? And then how transparent will the board be about where the funds go, what works, and then what doesn't? And then I'll close with, I think, literally incorporating everything that was said about AI, because I've read it somewhere and it said AI is not the future, AI is now. So I'm hoping that we all embrace that and make sure that we do just, touch base on it. So yeah, thanks.
Now, if I knew that V was going to ask the most difficult question, I wouldn't have given him the platform. I don't know if you want to, are you raising your hand to answer V?
Yes, I'm raising my hand to answer.
Thank you, rescue us.
Thank you for the most difficult question. Okay, with regards to the prompting and both consultations that we had in the two different provinces, that is one of the points that came up the most, that we need to training for the prompting on how to use AI and how to direct it properly for what you exactly want from it. So that will form part of the training that we will offer. With regards to the measuring, the evaluation, there will be reports. We will be totally transparent as to in every step of the funding. There will be total and complete transparency. Most of the information will be on the DNT Fund website, and it will be accessible. There will also be a Q&A section where you can go and ask the questions that you would love to ask. So there will be complete transparency from the beginning to the end on the fund. Anything you want to ask, there will be a section on the website where we can post your questions and they will be answered. I hope I'm answering your question, V.
Definitely, Susanna. Definitely. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Susanna. I'm mindful of time, but I think we can go on for about another 5 minutes or so. So,
excuse me, I've got a hard stop. I have to join a meeting now at 11 o'clock. But if there's any other questions directed at me, feel free just to shoot me an email and I'll do my best to answer them on email. And I will then just be in touch with the presentation that I shared. And I've put a couple of links in the chat today that I thought could be helpful.
All right. Thank you so much, Marianne, for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Right.
Thanks so much, Marianne.
Thanks. Lucifer, please go ahead and ask your question.
My question is basically simple. I just wanted to find out if it's the recording will be made available to everyone. And also, I tried opening the link that was shared in the group, in the chat. It requires cookies, so I'm worried about pop-up ads. So I'm just wondering if it's if that is okay in terms of the safety of the link.
I know the presentation, Marianne's presentation will be shared, those slides. I'm not sure I understand what you're saying about the link. Hi, Species. Hello. I'm not sure, did anyone else get that question? The second question.
Oh, sorry, I was muted. Can you hear me now?
Okay, sorry. What was the second question about the link? Sorry.
Now, I'm saying it's requiring me to accept a lot of pop-up ads. So, I mean, cookies. So I'm just worried about pop-up ads because normally when that happens, then you start receiving all sorts of pop-up ads. So I'm just wondering.
Oh, okay. No, but maybe what you could do is you could, instead of using the link, maybe you could just then just try and search for it, or type out the URL, and maybe it will take you directly to the site, and hopefully there will not be too many pop-up ads. I'm not sure. I don't see any other questions except for a request for Marianne's email, Kate. I don't know if you wanna, I don't know who will share that, and also just the closing remarks from you, because I don't think there are any other questions. Thank you.
So colleagues, I mean, I think the person that it would make most sense for you to get the email address for is actually Leanne Kunz, because Leanne is the person who is actually running the fund. Marianne is the funder, and she's there for inspiration and to kind of give us an overview of what's happening. But I think the person that we really need to kind of get hold of to find out about the nuts and bolts of the fund and kind of all those kind of details of like timelines and basically those kinds of things would be Leanne Kunz. V, can you just put Leanne Kunz's email address into the chat, and then what I will do as well is like post this meeting. We'll put it on every single one of our WhatsApp groups, including the sustainability group, because I think it's really important for all of us to get in touch with Leanne. And I also think, colleagues, and I don't know, Slee, what everybody thinks about this, but I think it would be very helpful to have Leanne Kunz coming and giving us a session, because I mean, a lot of the questions that people have asked have been very practical questions, and thank you for those, because those are actually completely critical. And Leanne Kunz is actually the person that will be able to give us a lot more of those answers. She's working full time every single day on this, and she is getting ready all the documents, including the application forms. She is in fact the person that is leading that. So if people are interested, I am very, very happy to basically get Leanne there. And I mean, Aneta and Mbali, I'd love your views on that, but I think it would be very helpful to have Shikalulu and Leanne Kunz coming in and presenting to us. And thanks, V, for putting Leanne's email address there. Thanks. I actually see Mbali saying yes.
Agree. I agree, Sis Kate. If we can get Leanne to come and also just answer some of the questions that publishers have, it would be good. I just wanted to know, are there any members on the call that are not AIP members and not on our groups, the other groups? Because I'm thinking how they are going to access this information.
If I may jump in, Sisaneta.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, Kate.
V, please go ahead.
I'm seeing a comment from Sbusiso. I'm not in the groups. How do I get in them? Maybe that's what you're referring to, Sisaneta?
I actually did not see that comment. I was actually just thinking out loud.
Okay.
So Slee, let me answer that if that's helpful. What I was going to say is, so I think then the best thing for anybody that is not an AIP member, but obviously a press council member would want to access the fund, please get hold of Leanne Kunz from Shikalulu. With her email address is in the chat box. Please get hold of Leanne Kunz directly, because I mean she will have all the information that I'm sure would be useful. And if not, then please get hold of the AIP office, via Valent. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you very much, colleagues. It is 5 minutes past 11, 5 minutes after. I'm scheduled to end the call. I don't think there are any questions that we are missing. So thank you very much. I think the office will update us when we know when Leanne and Chukululu will be available. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Lee. Thank you. Thanks,
Thank
colleagues.
you.
Thank you very
Cheers.
much, Lee.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye. Have a
Bye.
good day.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.